Welcome to Underground Crypto. I appreciate everybody who's here. Got another great show for you. Of course, I always think it's a great show because this is what I love to do. Deep dive, research, make sure I know what the narratives are. See words in crypto and you don't know what they are. Oh, there goes our sound check. I love that I got the music rocking in the background. Slightly harder than you think it would be, but we got the music in the background. Let me know if it's too loud or anything like that. I would greatly appreciate anybody who lets me know how the stream's going. Starting with crypto bubbles, we're going over LayerZeros today. Do you know what LayerZero is, why it exists? This is kind of why we do this channel, because this content is stuff that I wish that I had, and there was nobody doing it. So I stepped up to the plate and said, let me do it. You could use a million excuses and reasons to walk away and say, you know, that's too much work, but I love crypto, so what can I say? Either way, you probably know what layer 1 is. You probably know what layer 2 is. Hear from the crypto lifers. Yo, what's up, man? My favorite community. I'm over there every morning, as I'm sure you know. Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming through. You're probably one of the people that subbed from over there when he shouted me out. Love Sam, man. Such a great guy. Him shouting me out was awesome. And I appreciate you coming over. So we're talking about LayerZeros. Do you know what a LayerZero is? That one guy? ATLUSAF. I'm just going to call you that one guy. Do you know what a layer 1 is? We went over D-pins. We went over a bunch of different things that you might hear commonly on a website or people talk about, but you might not know what it means, and it does impact your, what I like to call your crypto IQ, you know, your ability to understand what's literally being said to you, especially if you're looking at projects and you're looking to speculate, aka invest. I'm not giving out financial advice. I'm just like Sam, not going to tell you what to do with your money because that's not my job. My job is research and understanding and education, right? So, oh, no, sir, you don't? Okay, cool. Well, then you're in the right place because I'm going to tell you all about it. So we warm up a little bit, give a moment for people to hop on. We're going to go over crypto bubbles and a couple other metrics and stuff like that. And then in a couple minutes here, we're going to get into the real topic of the day. So we got crypto bubbles, MYX. Not surprising to see that as one of the bigger bubbles here. You got AVAX. I am really glad to see AVAX. We did a deep dive on AVAX last week, I believe it was. And all of the lives I do are, you know, available. You can always go watch them. And I was a little disappointed by how much traction I felt like there was in the AVAX ecosystem. But I do think that'll change as we kind of hopefully kick off, you know, altcoin season. We're all hoping and praying. We have been the entire bull market to get some real traction in altcoins. And it seems like it might finally happen. Then, of course, we got Pump.Fun, which is a launch pad on the Solana blockchain, Ondo, and Mint. Those seem to be the highlights worth talking about. We'll check out the hour for a second. But, you know, the hour changes drastically hour to hour. You got Crow, the Saros, Tau, and Near. And then I usually use CoinGecko for all of our what's trending, top gainers, top losers. But Crypto Rank, Crypto Lifer reminded me today when he went to Crypto Rank. I used to use that website all the time and had kind of forgotten about it. And also that one guy, let me know if there's any projects you'd like me to take a look at that you're interested in. Being a small channel, it's really easy for me to interact a little bit more and look at things that, you know, the fans or the people who are here want to look at. And I would love to do that for you. So Bitcoin, 113,976. I saw it had just kind of crossed 114,000 a minute ago. Slight pullback, but that's to be expected. You know, the price goes up and down and up and down. And it never stays in one place. That's crypto for you. Ethereum, 4,348. I love to see Ethereum above that 4,000 mark. Oh, Crypto Keep, man, you slid in there. I didn't see you. I appreciate you being here, Crypto Keep. You're definitely a real one for popping in. XRP, $2.98. I love it at that $3 mark. Man, I loaded up on a good bit of it, around like 25 cents to 50 cents. Well, that was a good investment, wasn't it? I hope that we can see maybe $10 to $12, $15. I'm not going to stand here on that stuff you see everywhere else where they're telling you $10,000 and $50,000. I'm here for it, but That's a little wild, but that's a discussion for another day, right? Getting sidetracked, side salad over here. So BNB 893. Solana, same thing with Ethereum. I love to see Solana above $200, $224. Crypto lifers got to be happy with that one. Dogecoin, I love that. I hold some Doge from last cycle because didn't sell it. I should have. 24 cents, 24 and a half cents, really. And then Chainlink, $23.57. Hyperliquid, $55.42. And then we want to look at our Fear and Greed Index. And I want to see what it is. It's at 49. We're still in the neutral zone. Last month we were in greed. And you can see we kind of slowly moved down as we had a pullback. But we didn't get into fear, which was good to have a pullback and not go all the way into fear, which basically fear means Bitcoin is dumping. I'm glad that we didn't see that. Now let's go to Crypto Rank, because Crypto Rank has a Fear and Greed Index as well. The one that I always look at is the one that Lifer always uses on his channel and talks about. But I see they do have the same score. I think every day we're going to be kind of comparing them to see if they have the same score, so I can know if I can rely on the one over on CryptoRank.io as well. Now, what I like about it is, like, one thing I found is you come over here and you go to all-time highs, right? And right off the bat, you can see the all-time high of different coins. So like BNB's all-time high, $900. Hyperliquid, $55.98. Call it $56. And so that's kind of fun. We're not going to go through the all-time highs of all the coins. That would be a cool show, though. I would definitely, I'm going to write that down. Maybe we'll do that sometime. Always looking for new subjects to go over for different live streams. To just hop on here and just ramble doesn't seem like the right way to go about it. We got to put a narrative and a category together, right? So I want to see what's trending. Trending cryptos. And I want to compare it to the trending cryptos over on CoinGecko, where we normally go over what's trending. So CoinGecko says Lena, OpenVPP, Nero, which calls itself the sister of Dogecoin. Probably a little bit of marketing there, but I don't really know about that one personally. I don't own any. Saros, we're going to go ahead and check out Saros because I've heard it around, but I don't know. I hate when I look at a coin and I don't know off to the top of my head what it is. Like what category. Here at Underground Crypto, we say narrative, narrative, narrative. What is the category? What is the narrative? What is the niche? Can we niche things down into smaller categories so that we can kind of in our mind keep organized what coins are worth, looking at how they operate with other things. And there's a long tangent I could go on that, but I will spare you guys. So the beautiful thing about CoinGecko is you can come right down to categories and check out what categories they put them in. Makes it real simple. So a DEX, a decentralized exchange, just got a notification that EVM is up 6.8%. Thank goodness, because I'm underwater on that one. So that one guy says I'm currently long Fartcoin, just entered long ETH. Big position, entry 4,280. Nobody, great one to check out. Some big sponsorships coming up. MYX, I top blasted at 8 with smaller margin, all 10x leverage. Cool, man. I'm glad to see you're a trader. I love to trade. I don't really talk a bunch of TA on here. Mostly because Sam is the man, and if you want TA, you should go check out Crypto Lifer's channel. We're here about research, but I do love you sharing that with everybody, and I'll definitely check out Nobody. I'm pretty sure I know what Nobody is. Let me wrap up Saros real quick. We'll do Nobody, and then we'll kind of get through some of our beginning of the stream stuff. So I do want to look at their website. Another thing we always check out here is the max chart to see how long a coin has been out, because that's really important to me. The coin's doing nothing and then you go to his max chart and it was like out since 2017, the odds are it's probably going to do nothing continuously. So this says January 18th, 2024, up 1,600%, a little bit over half of that. So it's like 1,683. I totally said that terribly. Let's go to the website. And yeah, that Fartcoin position, I really feel like AI agents, yesterday we went over AI agents, so that's really relevant what you said there. And AI agents will, I think start to move. I'm hoping, because I do hold some from our last big move of AI agents. But more than that, I'm hearing rumblings and I'm starting to see a little more people talk about it. That's what I like to see when a narrative starts to begin to move. So Saros says explore Solana liquidity layer. Now I did see it had a Solana contract, but it also has a Victitian contract. I don't know what Victitian is. I love when I find some new stuff. It's really a testimony to why I do this show. Now, for a lot of people who don't know, I do this show because I need to know all this information to be educated in crypto, but also a good investor myself. So I'd be here doing this stuff anyways. So you have DLMM, and then you have AMM, Automated Market Maker. And you have different pairs here. It's a decentralized exchange, so you're going to find a swap. You're going to find pools. And there's not a lot to look at here. It's cool. I'm sure it works. It's something that when you need it, it's very useful. Matter of fact, one of the things that we're going to talk about today is the difference between an atomic swap and a bridge. They do very similar things, but what is the difference? And if you need to move money and you have the option to do both, which one do you choose? Which one's better? That is going to be one of those questions we answer. And also, shout out to anybody who was here yesterday. I do apologize. I teased a coin that I really wanted to share with everybody, and then I never shared it. Sorry, guys. That's my bad. But I will make sure I share it today. If somebody wants to try to remind me, halfway, 3/4 of the way through the stream, I would appreciate that. But I'm pretty sure I'll remember. So this is what's trending here. Let's go over and see how that goes with crypto rank, right? So they have Lena. I see that. So you have, I like how they break this down a little different. We're just starting to use this on the, I haven't been on this website in a while. So it says top 20 searches in the last 7 days and the most visited coins in the last 7 days. CoinGecko doesn't really tell you what they're basing this off of, right? So Somnia Network, of course, has been absolutely banging on them, and it is really, really interesting, actually. I love GameFi. For anybody who doesn't know, GameFi is one of my biggest things. Oh, Lindsay Lynn. Oh, cool. You made it over here. Yeah, I appreciate you being here. Feel free to share any projects you're looking at that you'd like me to go over. I was just saying, I'm not sure if you were in here. We're a small channel, so I'm able to interact with the chat a little bit more and go over things that you want me to. But we're going over LayerZeros. Lindsay, do you know the difference between a atomic swap and a bridge, or what a LayerZero is? We all know what L1s are, right? We hear that term a lot. Ethereum, and L2 on Ethereum would be like Polygon, but what is an L0? And why would anybody want one? We're going to be going over all that stuff in a minute. So LayerZero, it's funny. I did not do that on purpose. LayerZero is also trending. So this is a project that literally is called LayerZero, and their use case is exactly what LayerZeros are. We're going to break down the definition of that in a minute before we actually get into LayerZero projects. MYX Finance, of course. At one point, MYX Finance was up like 16,000% since May 5th, 2025. That was pretty crazy. And Lindsay says, I love it. I don't. Cool. Yeah, well, you're definitely in the right place, and I appreciate you being a part of this community or coming over. There is a Discord link in the description. I feel like they change it on me daily, so if it doesn't work, let me know. But hop in the Discord, posting things over there. Got a 1 to 2 people so far. It's a brand new Discord, so it takes a minute to get people in there. But I've got at least one really engaged person, so I really appreciate those people who come over to the Discord, and we can just continue the conversation over there. Anyways, over here we have like the most visited coins in the last 7 days. So Lena is there, Somnia is there, MYX. See if there's anything here that we don't really know. Open Ledger we went over on our AI agent deep dive. Portal was an interesting one. BitLayer. Portal, I believe also, yeah, it's on the Bitcoin, DeFi Bitcoin kind of narrative. Pyth. All right, usually this is where we find some coins to look at, but I feel like we go over most of these coins on this list almost daily. So that's fun. And then let's top gainers, top losers. Can't leave those out. So our top gainers, top losers. D-Factor looks like the #1 gainer of the day, and holy crap, is it a gainer? 10,000% today. Is it altcoin season? Is it Christmas, everybody? Link isn't working. Okay, thank you, man. I will fix that link in just a moment. Also, how is the music? Is it too loud? I can't hear it on my end. I always wonder how Crypto Lifer does it. Can he hear the music? I don't know. But if I could hear the music, like if I had it playing in my speakers, it would be giving feedback. So you have to use like a digital link and all of this stuff. It was very confusing, but we got it going. Let me know if it's too loud. So yeah, D-Factor, $1.20, up 72% on the max chart. Which is interesting. You think it would be more than that. 2021. And this thing is done dismal. Almost nothing since 2021. No, I don't want to go to market cap. I want to go to the last 7 days, I guess. No point. Just look at the 24-hour. So this thing just literally went from like 2 cents to $1.20. That's crazy. That really is nuts. But what is it? That's always the question that I wonder. You see these coins pump, but what are they? Tokenized real estate. Did they get some kind of news or some kind of big deal is what you always wonder. So it's DeFi, it's RWA. And let's go to their website. Do they have a good website? The complete RWA tokenized toolkit. Okay. Create, manage, and utilize tokenized assets built for institutional scale. So I guess this is for bringing things on chain. They have a toolkit for developers and people who probably want to bring something on chain, take an asset and digitalize it, right? Tokenizing assets comes with enough challenges. Technology shouldn't be one of them. Our toolkit will give you the tech you need to launch and grow with confidence. Yeah, notch down wouldn't hurt. Okay, thank you for saying that. All right, I just adjusted it. Let me know if you notice any difference. And while I'm at it, let me grab that link from Discord for you guys. I do greatly apologize for that not working. I have no idea why they change it so much, right? Like, why can't I just have a link to my Discord and that be that? And let's swap that out. Bear with me, everybody. We are updating the link in Discord. Don't tune out. We have so much more to get to here. And it was a different link. I don't know why they change it. Oh well, can't dwell on the small things. All right, and we're back. Thank you for letting me know. It should work now if you want to check it out. I don't know why it wouldn't work, but let me know if it doesn't. And is the music any better? Oh, thanks, that one guy. Appreciate it. Yeah, this is 10 years of growing this hair out. All right. That threw me off track, but let's get back on track, right? So we looked at top gainers, top losers. We were looking at Factor. It is a tokenized real estate. It is on the Ethereum blockchain, Polygon, of course, layer 2, and Base. Of course, Base is also very affiliated with Ethereum. Very interesting how Base blockchain set up their chain, but that's probably a conversation for another day. Now, DeFactor has already ran up to $360.8 million in market cap. Personally, my personal opinion, I wouldn't go chasing this thing. It is already blown up, and we don't really know why. So, Naros, some coins I don't know how to say them. We're going to go with Naros. Protocol is another one, up 200% on the day. Yeah, he says that that one guy says that he's bullish on Doge. Yep, Doge is actually how I got into crypto. Very weird. Maybe if you remind me, I'll tell that story at the end of the stream. I've done it a couple of times, but that's how I wound up in crypto, was Dogecoin. Music volume is good now. Thanks, Crypto Keep. I appreciate you letting me know. It's very helpful when you can't hear any of this stuff yourself, right? Also, is the stream lagging on your guys' end? I have another computer over here where I can kind of keep an eye on it. Looks a little laggy. 10 cents for Naros Protocol. $62.5 million in its market cap. Max chart says it has been out since July 30th. July 31st, 2025. Narrative is infrastructure. It is a LayerZero, so maybe this is going to come up. Quant resistant is one of its tags. I think that's really interesting. That deserves maybe a deep dive as well. We'll write that down. I'm always kind of taking notes as we go here. Quantum resistant. I haven't really seen anything with that tag before, so I wonder how many things are touting that they're resistant to quantum computing. All right, let's go ahead and hop into it because I don't want to keep you guys hanging for too long, and I definitely don't want to lose anybody. That one guy says, Doge gonna kick off the real alt season. Crazy to say that a lot of people got into crypto from that in Shiba. Yeah, it was an accident. I was on Robinhood. I had, we had that big thing that affected all the world markets, if you know what I mean, where they wanted to lock us in our houses. And I bought a bunch of stocks when everything dipped. When they went back up, I was on Robinhood app, taking all my profits, and they just had like Ethereum and Dogecoin. They might have had one other crypto on there. And I just threw like $220, maybe $250 into Doge and didn't really think much of it. The next thing you know, I turned around, it was up over 22 grand. And I was like, what is crypto and why do I not know about it? And that just sent me on a journey of, studying and figuring out what the heck crypto was watching BitBoy's channel back when he was on top of the world. Found Sam because he was on ATB every day. I used to love that show, and then I found Sam, and then I could tell he knew where the sauce was, I could tell he knew what he was talking about, and then I wound up on his channel. So that's just a simplified story there. Now let's go over, yes, I use ChatGPT for information and deep diving and research. It's great. I could try to hide it from you, but what's the point, right? We are real, genuine and authentic over here at Underground Crypto. No sponsors, nothing to shill you. I will never shill coins. I love to keep up that, authenticity. Yeah, it really was dope, that one guy. So layer zeros versus layer ones. So I guess the first question that most people would probably think when they hear the term layer zero is, we have layer ones. Why in the world would we need a layer zero? So layer zero is the foundational framework that allows multiple layer one blockchains to exist and interact. Now, we went over DPIN as a narrative the other day, and DPIN basically means infrastructure. So I'm interested to see how DPIN maybe is going to play into all of this. And then of course they give us what a layer one is. Blockchains built on top of layer zeros. Without layer zeros, each layer one would be isolated with limited cross-chain communication. So basically, think of layer ones like a bunch of random islands in the ocean, right? And so each one of them has its own ecosystem, has its own people, culture, currency, all that stuff, but they're not connected. There's no bridges between them. You can't drive your cars to them. Layer zero is the bridges that would be built there between all of the different islands so that you can move around. So if I had friends, on one island, I could go visit them. So core function of a layer zero, interoperability, right? So one thing that we always talk about on Underground Crypto is how much just knowing words and their definitions can help you and help you not be intimidated by websites that seem very technical, somebody talking very technical about crypto. They're just definitions. Interoperability just means connectivity. It just means the ability to communicate across one blockchain to another, right? Connects different blockchains so they can transfer tokens, data, and smart contracts seamlessly. Big word, but not scary. Scalability enables parallel processing across multiple chains, avoiding congestion. So shared security. Some layer zeros allow layer one chains to borrow security from the base layer. So that's cool. You can kind of take advantage, a layer one can kind of take advantage of the security of a layer zero to become more secure. That's definitely something that we need. Lindsay says that she totally understands. I'm glad that, you're understanding, and I'm raising people's crypto IQs, as I call it. I love that. That's kind of my mission here. So custom blockchain deployment. And I'm a regular, person, in my opinion. I'm not some kind of super nerd. So I think my skill, hopefully, is to be able to convey it in a way that makes sense to the average person. So custom blockchain deployment The developers can quickly launch optimized chains without building everything from scratch. Now, one thing I gotta say is Sam really gave me a compliment today that I was not expecting, and he said that, you know, my channel goes and pairs very well with his channel, and I didn't really think about it when he said it, but later in the day, you know, as I'm preparing the stream, I was like, you know, if you go there, you learn a lot about different projects. Yes, you're trading and you're doing different things, but he also is very keen on teaching you a lot of things about, you know, actual, you know, how they work together, how the money flows, all those things. And he says a lot of these words and stuff. This channel maybe break it down a little bit more and make it so you could understand it, because he doesn't have the time to break down every little bit of everything in crypto for you. The bridge analogy was really cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Kind of came up with it on the spot. Examples of LayerZero projects. So now we're going to move from what is a LayerZero project to examples of a LayerZero project. Polkadot, one of my least favorite projects, but it is what it is, and it does apparently what it's supposed to do well. And this is probably why you don't hear about these projects. Notice that all of these projects are going to be projects that you don't hear about a lot. They don't get a ton of attention. Retail doesn't find them attractive because retail doesn't understand them or even understand why you would need them. So Polkadot, as said, uses a central relay chain to connect para-chains. That's what they call these parallel chains that they have. So the parallel chains exist alongside the main chain. I'm trying to talk way too fast because I'm excited here. So they exist aside the main chain, and the information goes through the parallel chains, and then the parallel chains then update the main chain later on, and this helps get rid of congestion on the actual chain itself. So ecosystem examples are this Akala and Moonbeam. Most people probably familiar with Moonbeam. That one guy says, awesome, bro. Good things are coming your way in abundance. I believe that. Thank you very much. And like Sam always says, God is good. Put God first, and you will do amazing things. So another one that you don't hear about a lot, Cosmos, aka Atom. Most people know of Atom only for its high yield, 12%. Somebody told me they were getting 20% on Atom yield through a bunch of other protocols, but either way, that's neither here nor there. Uses the Tendermint consensus plus IBC protocol, and you have Osmosis and Juno. Juno was hot for a while, if anybody remembers that one. Now also, sorry, a comment caught my eye. Also, we talked about, you know, connecting the bridges, right? But to take that analogy a little bit farther, every chain, like every blockchain, how one might be proof of stake, one might be proof of liquidity, proof of work, they get to kind of choose how they want to approach the problem at hand that they're solving, and they all do it a little different. So you see Polkadot uses relay chains, Cosmos uses Tendermint consensus. So they're all going to take their own approach at it because they're all trying to come up with the best solution. You know, it's really innovation at its finest. Avalanche subnets. So we know what Avalanche is, but the subnets kind of provide a LayerZero function as well. Customizable subnets connected under Avalanche's consensus, like DeFi Kings or Dexalot. And LayerZero Labs, which the project itself is literally called LayerZero, so you really can't miss this one. Will that help it capture that narrative and market and rise to the top of the most known? Maybe. So focuses on cross-chain messaging and interoperability. So Stargate and Radiant. Radiant was hot for a while. Caught my attention real quick. Told you I'd check you out. Yes. Awesome. I don't know if that means you're leaving, but if it is, I appreciate you being here. Hope you hop in that Discord. If not, I appreciate you being here. Either way. So why it matters for crypto natives. Investors and developers love it. LayerZeros make it easy to build fast, scalable ecosystems. Key narratives right now, cross-chain, DeFi, gaming, and AI agents increasingly rely on LayerZero infrastructure. So this is where we start to kind of tie everything together, right? So AI agents we talked about yesterday. Why are we talking about LayerZeros today? Because they are very much the infrastructure that AI agents rely on. It's something that's worth knowing. Token utility. Most LayerZeros are used for governance, security, staking, and bridging. So let's go to our list of LayerZeros, right? We will kind of come back to some of the information, but I like to break it up a little bit for sure. Another thing that we found as a tool here is this Tweet Scout, and it kind of gives us what is trending over on social media. Shout out to anybody in here. Hit that like, share, subscribe button. Tell somebody you know loves crypto, who's always talking your ear off about crypto. Tell them about underground crypto. All right, so that's taking a second. I don't know why. One thing that we started looking at yesterday, though, that was really cool was a map, a spot volume bubble map. I thought it was really cool, probably something we should take a look at on a daily basis, because it just kind of breaks down the price action into a couple of different categories of neutral, cooling, heating, and overheated. So we were in kind of a state of this cooling, and I like when you highlight one of them, kind of dims the other one and shows you all the other times we were cooling, so that you could begin to compare. Like, for example, here we were cooling and then we got a big pump, then we were overheated, or we were heating and overheating, yeah, and then we kind of pulled back and then we pumped again. So looks like right now we're getting that same cooling effect. Hopefully it's very much like this time and not like this time over here where we dumped after. But I like to use all kinds of different metrics and things like bubble maps, for example, to really show data in a very visual way that's easy to understand. So did this ever load for us? All right, so this just kind of gives us top trending accounts over on Twitter. That's why it's called Tweet Scout. So let's see if any of these are very relevant to crypto. Coinbase, of course, Ton, Avantis. So early crypto projects, Soar and Boba are two that it's giving us right now. Those might be some bonus ones later on in the stream. We're going to go ahead and keep those up. So first and foremost, we have Polkadot, right? So I guess if you are new to crypto, you might say, what the heck is Polkadot? I've never heard of Polkadot, because I feel like that's how much people talk about it. So $4.22 on its max chart, it says that it came out, aka CoinGecko started tracking them. Let's see if it'll stay. August 18th, 2020 at about $2.94. Then it ran at one point in 2021 all the way up to $51.99. Let's call it $52. And now it's dismal, sitting down at $4.22. If you pull up the max chart of most tokens that have been around 3-4 years, this is exactly what it looks like. So it's not exactly, you know, scaring me that the chart looks that way. Although to most people who are looking at it, they might feel that way. So $6.4 billion in its market cap with a max supply that is infinite, it says, which makes the circulating supply pretty irrelevant in my opinion. 1.5 billion tokens. And we will go to their website. Haven't been to the Polkadot website in a very long time. Okay, why did it take us to a forum? I don't want to go to a forum, I want to go to the actual website. Ethereum contracts, Binance Smart Contract, Optimism, Arbitrum base contracts. It's a smart contract platform, LayerZero, proof of stake, made in the US, another narrative that we did an entire stream on. All right, so it took us to like a forum, Tech Talk. This looks very boring and looks like something that I should probably run away from. This is probably what I would expect from Polkadot. I know they have an actual website somewhere, so maybe we can get to it from their Twitter. I'm really reaching here because I would love to just skip Polkadot. Anybody notice the poll? Anybody try the poll? Here we go, polkadot.com. Or answer the poll, I said try. I mean, did you answer it? Build for the billions, right? So Polkadot is the most scalable, secure, resilient blockchain platform designed for builders, pushing boundaries and users who demand true ownership, engineered for mass adoption. Polkadot brings Web3 to the world. So a little fun fact here, Polkadot is actually the one who is attributed with coming up with the term Web3. Maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't. So you can start building here, shaping the future of the internet. They have a video. We will put it on for like a half a second. All right, it's just a hype video. It's not worth watching, honestly. Power without permission. So Polkadot gives you everything you need to build, participate, or lead in Web3. The tools are ready. The community is here. What's your next move? So they want you to come on in and develop on their platform. So Polkadot's unstoppable momentum. They have been around for a long time, where breakthrough ideas become reality. And so they got FIFA Rivals is a mobile game. All right, cool. So this is maybe where we start getting into more ecosystem type stuff. Hydrant Omnipool, a DEX for low slippage trades. And, you know, every chain's got to have a DEX. This Akurast provides compute and earn rewards. So basically, probably a lot like the Grass project. If you don't know about the Grass project, it is... if you're coming from Crypto Lifer Stream, you got to know about Grass. But it is a project that lets you use your unused internet that you already pay for to mine their rewards. And the rewards then will translate into their token, is what I'm hoping for. I know I'm mining the rewards. I don't know if I've gotten any of the actual token because it comes in quarters and comes in waves. And I got in right after the other one. But there's a link in the description if you're interested in that. So I'm really glad I'm here. I'm very appreciative Sam gave you props during the morning session today. Yeah, me too. I'm very glad you're here, and I'm very glad that he gave me props. I honestly can't say enough great things about Sam. I've had the luxury of meeting him in real life and being around him a little bit, and man, is he exactly who he portrays himself as. That man is 100. A lot of people who I've met in crypto are not who they say they are. Not going to say any names or anything, but he definitely is exactly who he says that he is. Very trustworthy guy. So Bitfrost, liquidity staking, hyper bridge, multi-chain bridge. And this is in a nutshell what Polkadot is. I am so ready to get off of Polkadot. So let's close all those tabs before I have so many that it makes the stream glitch out. So 14 votes in the poll. That's pretty cool. Can I pull that up? So it looks like the poll, which is, do you own any LayerZero projects if you haven't participated, says 57% say no. I probably should have incorporated in that I have no idea button. Dude, he was playing, yeah, with Grant Cardone. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you know, you know. So internet computer, ICP. Now, ICP, I do hold some. I love to be transparent. Sometimes I forget to say that on projects, but ICP is really cool if you've ever really looked into it. BitBoy at one point did this huge breakdown of what it actually is and even got them together. It was all centered around FTX and the collapse, and I only am bringing this up because you will see that it says 98.9%. I do very much believe that all the things they talked about, because they did a long interview with the people who made ICP, and I do think they were taken advantage of, that they pumped the price up artificially prior to really launching it, and then when they launched it, they used all the tokens that they had to short that thing to the ground and make themselves a ton of money, but they ruined the reputation of ICP in the process. You don't have to believe that narrative, but I do think that it was true. $2.6 billion in the market cap, an infinite supply. I don't love that in a token, but when you know what the project is, it does make a little bit of sense. Now, it is very techy. Lindsay says, I hold ICP as well, but I'm learning more from you. Well, I'm glad that you're learning something here. ICP, I think, is pretty cool. I don't know, did you catch any of the stuff that BitBoy did about ICP back in the day, you know, before everything fell apart for him? World Computer. So ICP obviously stands for Internet World Computer. Anyways, the Internet Computer hosts secure, network resident, code, and data. Built web apps. I always want to say Web 3 no matter what. Apps without big tech, right? So they're going around big tech and current IT. Applications are immune to cyber attacks and unstoppable, capable of processing tokens, and can run under exclusive DAO control. So one thing that you really want to point out about ICP. And this is where you get into the conversation about decentralized and centralization, right? So a lot of crypto projects, maybe they don't say if they're centralized or decentralized, right? Because if you don't ask, you don't tell a lot of times with these projects. But a lot of them running off of Amazon Web Service, right? So that's very centralized. So if Amazon Web Service goes down, so does a lot of projects in crypto, and that's a problem. Also a vulnerability within all the different ecosystems that rely on those projects. Internet Computer, World Computer, whatever, ICP, doesn't rely on Amazon Web Service. It actually has its own infrastructure built out. To me, that's one of the coolest things about this project, and one that you don't hear a lot of people talk about when they want to talk negative about ICP because of the price action. It was so high and it came down because it was never really supposed to be that high, and they used that as like a way to write off ICP, but really the tech is very solid. Build Web3 social media, games, DeFi, multi-chain apps, secure front ends, ledger, enterprise apps, and AI models. TCP IP, connected software. ICP hosts the software, and that really touches on what I was trying to say, is they actually host the software. And I'm not a super techie computer guy by any means, but you know, I understand a little bit of it. So Caffeine, apply for early alpha access and be among the first to experience the decentralized internet. And that is another big thing with the infrastructure that they have. They're really talking about how they're really the only project that is true decentralized internet. Not the only project that's truly decentralized, but the core foundational internet that's decentralized for everything else to run off of. You ever had to say the same big word 100 times? All right, ICP, Alliance. All right, so that's not really worth going over. Try to skip the stuff that is not worth talking about. Make AI immune to cyber attacks. It's easy to just sit here and read every single thing. So ICP roadmap, let's actually get into that because they've been around for a while. And so what is actually next for them? They start you off right where they are in this fission, load balancing and increase compute capacity, very techie there. But we went over yesterday with AI agents, the three things that AI agents really need, which is data, compute, and I know what I want to say, but the word's not coming to me. Organization, let's say that. It's not the right word, but to be organized, right? So compute is one of the big things that really all AI needs. So when you're looking at different projects, because why is everything that we're talking about so relevant? Because when you're looking at a project and you're thinking, should I put money into this? You really want to weigh out what they do, how they work with other things, all the different niches and categories and stuff. And so if it's an AI agent, you might want to say, oh, okay, well, who's backing it up? Who's behind it? How much ability do they have to get compute power or data? What oracles are they connected with? So if you're going back and forth between 3 or 4 different AI agents or AI platforms, and you see one of them is connected to the #1 oracle, which is a data feeding, process, is what the oracle does, then you know that one's probably going to perform the best, maybe not in price, but in tech. Now, unfortunately, tech is not always equivalent to price increase. A lot of that is marketing. So what was their last thing they did? Stellarator, increase storage capacity and throughput. And because they're their own infrastructure, they have a lot of things that they have to keep managing and going and running. Efficiency from storage to compute, integrity of node state, all kinds of different things, immutable blob storage. I don't know. I don't even know what that is, but it probably has something to do with their ecosystem. And then down here you have this cyclotron, which is on-chain AI inference. Looks like they finished that up. And then we have caffeine.ai. The Caffeine is the world's first commercially available platform for creating self-writing apps. Pretty cool. Definitely going to fall in your AI category, in your AI niche. So the category would be AI, but the niche would be self-writing apps. And there are so many things that we could get into on that. I probably would do a whole breakdown of ICP one day because there is so much information there. But we do want to cover other projects and not be here for 5-6 hours, so we will move right along. Oh, another thing is, I'm sorry, somebody did put something in here, and I said I'd go over it, and I hadn't yet. I get on a tangent, I get on a tear. I'm passionate about a lot of these things, and we just keep going. Oh, wow, I'm sorry, Lindsay. I also noticed that you were saying all the projects that you're into. So Lindsay says, I'm into BTC, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, Link, ADA, Sol, Ondo, XRP, SWI, HBAR, ICP, she'd already put that, RSC, Tree, DIA, SHIB, Toshi, Trump, too many. I want to trade more lightly and stop bag holding. I don't know, bag holding seems to be one of the most secure ways of making money. Trading is great, but it can be very up or down. Of course, I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I like to do both, but I hold my biggest amounts of money in long-term holds. That's what has done the best for me. I want to get back to that one guy. Are you still in here? I'm trying to look at what you sent earlier. There was a coin that I was going to go over for you. Okay, nobody. Let's do that real fast. Just because I hate when I say I'm going to do something. If I say, hey, I'm going to go over this for you, and then I get going on a tear, feel free to remind me. So, is it Nobody Sausage or is it the other Nobody? Pretty sure Nobody Sausage is more new. So you probably mean this one. Oh, that's just an NFT. Ticker Nobody. Okay, so it is Nobody Sausage. Cool. I watched a guy from Caffeine create an app in like 30 seconds. Really? That's very interesting. I've got a couple really great ideas for apps that I'll have to see if it can actually make that happen. So Lindsay says yes, a lot. I want to do both, I guess. And oh, thank you for putting those there. I had finally gone back and found it. So ZBCN and MYX. We will do both of those for you real quick. So Nobody Sausage, Max Chart, been around since April 28th, 2025. Not very long ago. It's up 1,400%. It seems like it's a meme coin. That's just my guess here. $80.5 million in its market cap, 1 billion tokens in max supply. And one thing when it comes to tokenomics that I do have to give a lot of coins like this, I'm going to say meme coin again. Okay, it is. Just double check before I call it a meme coin again. Is that a lot of times the majority of the tokens are out in the circulating supply. That I really do like. 936 million out of 1 billion. That's pretty good. Solana contract, don't see any other contracts there. Nobody Sausage.club, so maybe they're doing the very social club kind of thing. It's a Solana meme. Moonshot ecosystem. Moonshot is a very interesting thing, and I'm just going to touch on it for a second. Hopefully I can make this very simple and short. Is that Moonshot is an application that you can get on your phone, and it is like, say, Coinbase. It allows you to buy certain tokens and stuff like that. It's not as reputable as Coinbase, but the point is, a lot of times meme coins come out, people want to buy them, they're not Web3 tech savvy, they don't know how to operate a wallet, and so Moonshot is making it easy. And there is a coin called Useless Coin, and it's one that they highlight constantly on that app. So when you see things say Moonshot ecosystem, you almost have to wonder, is Nobody Sausage or Nobody doing really well because it's a part of that app that everyday people can get on and just buy a meme coin easily. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of Moonshot. I don't know if they have wallets, if I can easily get on there, buy something like this, and then send it somewhere else. Maybe that one guy, maybe you know, where did you buy this token at? Maybe you could start with that, because if you use Moonshot, maybe you could just tell me and save me some research time if I buy it on that app, if I can just send it to another wallet, like some cold storage. So anybody can be nobody. I love this, just like Useless Coin. Kind of the same narrative idea. So join the sausage revolution. This feels very much like a meme coin website. The club, feeling like nobody. I mean, it's a great narrative. A lot of people in crypto, probably people that, are a little bit more cast aside, or a little bit more of Outcast, Instant Karma, follow us on X. What I really mean is they're ahead of their time, and they're probably interested in things that a lot of other people don't want to hear about or talk about, because it seems to be a common theme with everybody in crypto that I meet. Mexi, okay, so you're on the Mexi Global, my favorite place to buy coins, although I am not affiliated with them. Stay connected with sausage lovers and follow fresh memes and daily nobody vibes. So I think they have a great narrative. I mean, I always say that meme coins are about community, artwork, narrative. So this really does a good job of bringing that all together. And a lot of people really want to hate on meme coins, but one thing you have to give them props for is marketing. You know, a lot of meme coins that's all they are, is marketing. And that's why I think AI agents combined with meme coins is one heck of a combination. When you see a project come out that does both of those really well, the marketing and then also has a use case, probably on to something. And that's just my opinion. So the other one he wanted to talk about was ZBCN. We have talked about this a few times, but I don't mind going over it again, which is Zebek Network. And I noticed it was getting some attention lately. So Lindsay says, these coins branding make me giggle. Yeah, and I think that's really the point. Like, here's a good example. AI agents were coming out, AI agents were hot, and then all of a sudden they came out with a coin called Fart Coin. Now, personally, I don't really love potty humor. I think it's kind of pointless. That was the #1 coin. It did the best, because it's almost like the thing that really shouldn't be there is what gets everybody's attention. Maybe it makes them giggle a little bit, or maybe they're just like, you know, I like this because it's outside of the norm of what's supposed to be. All right, so that one guy says they have some deals with Apple as well as a lot of cool stuff. Okay, so you are using Moonshot, right? No? Or are you talking about Mexi? Marketing, branding, I won't forget nobody's sausage ever. Yeah, exactly. And so they've done their job. So big boxing fight is on Netflix this weekend, and they have sponsorships in it. It's huge. Fight boxing money is big. Okay, so you're saying Moonshot is affiliated with that? I wouldn't be surprised, because that seems to be where a lot of people love to do their marketing. You know, whether it's football or UFC or boxing or any of those things, they know they have people's attention. They know there's people watching, and those networks have good data as far as like how much exposure you're really going to get. Like if you advertise here, 3 million people are going to see you, that kind of thing. Oh, you're talking about Nobody. Okay, cool. I'm glad you corrected me on that. Yeah, Nobody sausage. So it's one thing when a platform gets on one of those places, but when you see a very specific coin get on, that's really good. I'd like to see some Dogecoin in there. All right, so we're talking about ZBCN. I'm all in the chat, so of course I'm getting distracted, right? But it's a good type of distraction. I thought when I started the stream I was going to be talking to a room of absolutely nobody for months and months and months, and I've been very pleasantly surprised how many people come in and have conversations with me. It is awesome. April 14th, 2024. So not terribly long ago, but not super recent either. And it looks like we had not a whole lot of action until about April 22nd, 2025, and this thing started to rip, pull back. Looks like a nice cup and handle there. If you know, you know. And it has $365.9 million in its market cap. Looks like 100 billion max supply, 86.3 billion circulating supply. It took me forever to get good at reading like billions and trillion numbers quickly. I used to always mess those up in my pre-recorded videos. For anybody who doesn't know, I have a bunch of pre-recorded videos. That's mostly what I did on the channel before I started going live. I'll be making more, but I've been really trying to dial in these lives before I go back to focusing to that. Let's go to their website. Decentralized infrastructure network for seamless flows of real-world value. So let's go to categories. I already can tell you RWAs is going to be in there because they just said that. All right, that one guy says Crow marketing is next level on that subject. Yes, it is. Crow is one of those ones that I never really liked back in the day, so I never invested in, and they have been doing really well, especially with marketing lately. And Lindsay says, I'm interested in Crow. Check the chart and it makes me nervous for some reason. Maybe you feel the same way, Lindsay, as I do. It just has never been real attractive to me. Maybe it's their marketing. Maybe it's the times that I tried to use, crypto.com, and I wasn't real impressed with it. I had other platforms, so I just continued to use the ones that actually I was impressed with. So this Zebek network is Payment Solutions DPIN. That's why we went over it the other day. Real World Asset Protocol, as well as Made in the USA. I have a whole live stream deep dive on Made in the USA, if anybody wonders why that narrative would matter. And I did open their website. So changing the way money moves. Around the world, blockchain technology is being adopted at rapid pace. Zebek is helping to create a future where money and value moves more freely, giving individuals, businesses, investors, and teams faster and easier access to funds and tokens. So as we they gave us a lot of categories, right? But can we niche it down any more than that? So they have this Zebek Silver and Zebek Black. So spend your crypto anytime, anywhere, instantly. Get a card. So these are different cards. And reloadable and limitless is the black one. Then you have DPIN networks, interoperability, which again just means ability to talk to, different blockchains to talk to each other. Blockchain infrastructure and Zebek POS device. It says they have 50,000 monthly users on and off chain. Payroll enterprise clients. Okay, that's cool. That would be 250. And $1 billion in payroll volume, 138 countries. Okay, so they also like to, they handle a lot of payroll. That's niche right there. We were just talking about how can we niche this thing down into more specific niche. Payroll in a decentralized infrastructure. That is pretty cool. And we will look at Crow in just a second, just because Lindsay put it in there. So that's pretty much Zebek. We talked about its categories. We talked about its, we niched it down as much as we could. We looked at its max chart, and it is really just starting to get a move. It's already got $365.9 million in its market cap. So the question here always is, do you believe in a super cycle? Are you locked into the 4-year cycle? What is your narrative as far as when you're going to sell? And if you are in the 4-year cycle, like I personally believe in, and I think a lot of other big people in crypto do, pretty sure Sam's pretty locked into that, although he uses the charts to more tell him when to get in and out. How much farther is the point, is how much farther can this thing really run into, the next 3 or 4 months is really all we have left in this cycle. Now, one guy says, thank you, bro. You're absolutely welcome. Thank you for coming to the stream. I really hope I see you and Lindsay more often here because I love having the interaction. And I love that you guys are lifers, most and foremost, right? Because I was a lifer before I ever really was anything else, before I ever had any ideas of doing anything myself. Sam really inspired me to really step up and get to having my own YouTube channel. I believe there was one other project that one guy wanted me to look at. Oh, MYX. Another one that we had looked at quite a bit just because it's constantly in our top trending. So I guess it ran up to about $18. Did it go higher than that? Or was it 16? Thought somebody said they hopped into it, rode it up to 18, and then it dipped down to 16. I don't see that here. But it looks like the project came out May 5th, 2025. I was talking about that earlier. Again, it's up 16,890%. If anybody got this thing early on, you did a great job. Let's just put it that way. $3.1 billion in its market cap. How much farther can it run? And once you know what it is, do you know what MYX is? Follows no rules. Yeah, it really does. Until it has a huge pullback, which could be coming for it. Or maybe you're right. Maybe it will follow no rules. So MYX Finance, number 55 by market cap already. I mean, think about that. It came out May 5th, 2025, and it's already number 55 by market cap. That is pretty cool. Now, how much farther can this thing really run? How much more, share of of industry can it really pick up? And it's already got $3.1 billion in its market cap. But if we're about to go crazy altcoin season, who knows? Now, I was going to ask you, do you know what MYX is? And that might help you decide if you think this thing can keep running or not. Because often, a big thing that I used to say a lot when I first started going live was, you know, we have all these different coins in our portfolios that we buy because they're trending, they're hot. Maybe you understand a little bit. Maybe it's RWAs, right? But do you know more specifically what they do? And that's the crypto IQ that I always reference. So without any further delay, let's actually tell you what it is. Click the wrong thing there. That was not the website. So it's trade alpha permissionless, where the future of perpetual happens. So if you know you're trading, you certainly know what perpetuals are. And we'll go ahead and launch the app. And the app's going to look pretty much just like every exchange you ever looked at, right? It's got your pairs at the top. You can click here, look at a bunch of different pairs. Doesn't look like they have that many pairs. Very interesting, but for most of us, we trade a lot of Bitcoin anyways, so that would work out. You're going to most likely have to connect a wallet here, although I don't see that. Usually the first thing it does is ask you to connect a wallet. And then, of course, you have your options over here for, you know, cross or isolated, leverage, all of those different things. And it looks pretty much like any exchange. What's the difference? It's decentralized. Does that come with vulnerabilities and risks? I don't really know. I don't really think that anything more, if anything, it probably has much less risk than, you know, your traditional exchange for sure. Yes, I need more crypto IQ. Perfect way to put it. Thank you very much. Yep, that's what we're trying to do on the channel. That is the mission. Hey, bro, I'm a lifer too. Good to have some more content to learn from. Well done. Oh, Garden Warrior. You're new in the chat. I didn't see you there. Hey, thanks for coming over. I appreciate you big time. And yeah, I'm here to give you anything that I got. You know, I try to be as humble as possible and not act like a know-it-all, because none of us really know it all. And one of the big things about this channel, especially the Discord, Garden Warrior, if you haven't heard me say, there is a link to the Discord in the description. A lot of this is about the fact that we don't all have the time to go research everything as one person. So if we all have our little niches, things that we like, that one guy has already told us a lot of the things that he holds and things that he likes. Well, as he finds new things in his little niche or his little category, he can bring them into the Discord. And I'll be out there researching, doing the live stream, and anybody can pop in it, you know, and really feed us alpha, very much like the 99 in Sam's group. And right now my Discord's free. It'll probably be free for quite some time. I don't know if I'll ever charge for it or not, but the whole point is, as a community, we can come together and kind of raise each other's IQs, but also have each other's backs and talk about different things. You know, if I say, hey, there's this new narrative of decentralized science or DeSci, I don't know anything about it. Who in here has been looking at DeSci and can tell me good projects? And then somebody spits you a list of a couple good DeSci projects, and you go research them, do your own research, of course. That's something we definitely want to encourage. And then you go decide using all the crypto IQ that you've gained on what is your best bet. And then we just become better investors. All right, I'll leave that alone. So this is pretty cool. I do like the project. I kind of get why a lot of money would flow into it, but it's just markets, and there's not a whole lot more to show you here, right? You can earn, apparently. They got some airdrops. And usually when you come to airdrops, it just says like check eligibility or something like that. So connect a wallet. You're going to need to connect a wallet to see if you have any eligible airdrops. And did we look at what this is on? Oh yeah, it's on Binance Smart Chain, one of my absolute favorite blockchains, Binance Smart Chain. Let's close some of these tabs. So Lindsay says, I work full-time from home for a software company and also cyber homeschool my two little people. So this concentrated learning and interaction is wonderful for me. So wonderful, man. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad that you're enjoying the stream. I have 2 children as well. I also homeschool them. Well, me and my wife both homeschool. And it's cool that you work for a software company as well, because we do get into some kind of technical stuff here. And I feel like some people, they tune out, you know. Maybe it's the big words they don't understand. Maybe it's the concepts and they just don't have, you know, the will to learn. But it sounds like that's something that you won't have a problem with. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm so glad you guys came over. So let's hop back over, because we were talking about 0-1s. Not that I mind looking at any of those things for you guys at all. And we come into Atom, or Cosmos Hub. Now, all of these are put together in rank by market cap. So look how quick we went from Polkadot at a $6.4 billion market cap to ICP at a $2.6 billion market cap. And then we come into a $2.1 billion market cap. That is Atom. Now, Atom is one that I've meant for a long time to really deep dive and research more, and I just haven't ever got around to it. So it's great to do this live with everybody. That one guy says, I had my first kid 3 months ago. Congrats. Were you the one the other day that had said something on the channel to Sam and he was talking about it? You might be. But yeah, congratulations. It's a wonderful thing. I don't understand why so many people get tricked into being so scared of having kids. It's really the most wonderful thing you'll ever do. You got a little mini you running around. What could be better than that? All right, so let's go to Cosmos website. Kind of skipped over the tokenomics there. So max chart, pretty sure Cosmos has been around for a minute. 2019, so February 23, 2019, again, $2.1 million in its market cap. Another infinite max supply. Lindsay says, congrats. I'm narrating the chat. I just realized that. I'm like the narrator of the chat, but that's cool. Circulating supply is, yeah, it doesn't even matter with an infinite max supply, but 467.8 million in the circulating supply, right? And it had this, it's at $4.70 now, had this really big run up here in 2021. I'm sure it was the top of the bull market to $43.52. I should probably have all of the tops of the bull markets in my head since I look at these charts so much, and I don't. That's one thing I definitely need to do. Raise my own crypto IQ, right? IBC Eureka is live. Cosmos to Ethereum. Fast, affordable, seamless. Eureka brings fast bridging between Cosmos, Ethereum, and beyond. One connection, one click, powered by IBC V2 and Cosmos Hub. And I think this might be the perfect moment to segue into what is the difference between an atomic swap and a bridge. And we will run down to where I have that real quick. Of course, ChatGPT spits you way more information than you ever need. Okay, so here we are. I asked it, what's the difference between an atomic swap and a bridge swap, or a bridge in crypto, so that maybe it would be a little easier to explain to you guys. So feature is purpose. So the purpose of an atomic swap is to directly swap one token for another across two blockchains without a third party. A bridge kind of is a third party, right? So transfer tokens or data from one blockchain to another. Okay, so that's its purpose, but how does it actually work? When we come into how it actually works, I think it makes you understand which one is most likely best. So uses hashed time lock contracts. Don't let that intimidate you. We're just talking about contracts like a smart contract. This is a hashed time locked contract, because they're going to lock the coins on both chains until both parties confirm it and update their ledgers, and therefore, the transaction is official. Taking it off of one chain and moving it to another chain, so you're not duplicating money all the time, because that would be not very good. So locks, so that was atomic swap. So for bridges, how it works is they lock or burn tokens on chain A, and then mints or releases equivalent tokens on chain B. And then we go to trust models. Now, before we actually talk about trust models, bridges are, from what I've seen, I'm just going off of my experience, where the problem is most of the time when it comes to hacks or large losses of money, right? Sometimes they're hacked, sometimes they're insiders. They didn't really hack anything. They just were the ones who built the bridge or something like that. And this is where a lot of money has been lost in crypto, is bridges. So I do feel like understanding this is really important. So a atomic swap is trustless, no intermediaries, relies on cryptographic proofs, basically contracts, like smart contracts. It's only a hashed time-locked contract because they're locking things up so that it's not moving around while they're trying to, move them from one chain to another. And then here's the thing, semi-trusted. So bridges are only semi-trusted. They're not fully trusted, where an atomic swap is trustless. And it relies on a bridge validator. So here's your third parties, is the bridge validator or smart contract to manage token movements. Typically, this is speed. So typically instant. So atomic swaps are usually instant or near instant, right? Once both parties or blockchains confirm. Bridges can be fast or slow, depending on bridge types and network congestion. Anybody in here ever use a bridge? You ever get, into a different ecosystem or project that you wanted to buy? Maybe you wanted to go to BNB, one of the harder things to... I don't know how it is nowadays because I don't use it quite as much as I used to. And now I have money over there, so I don't worry about it. But for a while, buying and then getting my money to Binance Smart Chain was a pain until I finally knew what bridges to use. And I didn't even know about atomic swaps. One thing about atomic swaps, though, is both parties that you're trying to swap between have to support the contracts, right? Because if the other blockchain isn't interoperable and it can't read the actual contract, then it's not going to accept it. It's not going to do anything, right? Then you're almost stuck using a bridge. So cross-chain support, limited. Both chains must support the same. That's what I just explained. And then board works even if, so the bridge works even if the two blockchains have different architecture. So as much as I am kind of saying atomic swaps are better than bridges, bridges still have their place in situations where the two blockchains really can't, because of their architecture, can't really communicate with each other. And then, of course, risk levels. Of course, the risk for bridges is going to be much higher. And we'll kind of leave it at that. Examples is a Lightning Network swap, right? Or Thor chain swaps. So those would be atomic swaps where Stargate, Wormhole, LayerZero, Multi-Chain, and Arbitrum have bridges. Now, the whole projects are not bridges, but they all have bridges. And I'll leave it at that because we don't have to go absolutely crazy. It's more important that you just kind of know the difference between an atomic swap and a bridge. And if you have the ability to use an atomic swap, that seems like the safer bet. So Lindsay asks, is that the same as getting your funds to Weeks or MEXC? Not exactly. And the reason is, it could be, but it's normally not, is because I don't know where you're getting the tokens from first. So here's an example. You get on Coinbase, right? And we call that an on and off ramp. I'm sure you're aware of that. And you use the on ramp, which is Coinbase, and you bought some XRP, right? And you're going to send it to Weeks or, MEXC. And so they have the same chain. They're doing it on chain, but you're never leaving the chain you're on because you can use the XRP network. And then she said, or something like Uniswap. Uniswap is a decentralized exchange on Ethereum. So again, that would be on Ethereum. Another thing is when you go to Uniswap or PancakeSwap, a lot of times they will have bridges there for you to use. But it's basically, to make it simple, Lindsay, it's anytime you're trying to move money to a different blockchain. So I get Ethereum and I want my Ethereum USDT to come over to Binance Smart Chain USDT. Now they might both say USDT, but contracts and platforms that they run on or blockchains that they run on, they're not the exact same. When it sends it over, and this is how a lot of people lose a lot of money, is that if I use some kind of mechanism to just port that money over, it'll just disappear because the other blockchain doesn't recognize it. You need to do it through a system that has been set up to make sure that your money actually winds up where you want it to be. One of the drawbacks to new people in Web3, Can't ever say I've lost a lot of money doing stuff like that, but I've definitely lost $10, $15 over the years doing that here and there. So we were talking about Cosmos. They have this new IBC Eureka Cosmos to Ethereum is what it's all about. And again, layer zeros are foundational infrastructure. Blockchains that scale. And Lindsay says she gets it now. I'm glad that you understand now. You're absolutely welcome. Blockchains that scale, zero fees, and transaction rates as low as 500 milliseconds. Build an app chain that scales at a fraction, I wanted to say friction so bad, at a fraction of the cost of platform chains while inheriting the built-in security of app chain architecture assured by the Cosmos Hub. I don't know why when I was reading that, all of this reading live on the internet really reminds me of being a kid in front of the classroom, having to read stuff and then you mess it up and you're like, do I make it obvious? Do I skip it over it? I think you get what I mean. If anybody has ever really had to do much reading out loud to people, you're just like, why when I read it in my head do I get it? But when I read it out loud, I mess all the words up. All right, designed to spec at internet scale. I'm getting better. Customize your app chain from business logic to block production. Sovereignty means you control every aspect of consensus, governance, permission, and smart contract. So scalability, that's really what we're talking about here with SDK, Cosmos SDK. And then it says get started. So what is the category for Cosmos? And before we even go to guess, let's see what it tells us. Smart contract platform. So it is its own layer 1 in a way, but it's also a layer 0 because they're not just doing their own smart contracts, but they're also connecting other blockchains together, which again is what a layer 0 is all about. Let's see if they give us any other. So it is POS. Atom is proof of stake. And we've done lives on proof of stake and proof of work and stuff like that. You know, what is the difference? They throw you some curveballs in there. There's proof of liquidity. There's proof of validated work or proof of validated stake. So everybody gets to decide how they want to run things and how they want to tweak them, right? And so that's Atom. Let's move along to something else. Layer 0. I do want to go over this one because it's literally just called Layer 0. And do they do anything else? Or do they have any other niches? I don't know. So smart contract platform, multi-capital. Oh, that's portfolio that they're in. It is interesting that CoinGecko shows you all of these different portfolios, like Sequoia and OKX. They don't really have a lot here. Cross-chain communication. I mean, again, that is what a layer 0 is, so that is not surprising. First, let's look at its max chart and see how long it's been around. And I apologize if I get off topic a little bit. June 19th, 2024 is when CoinGecko started tracking it, usually very close to when it actually came out. They're very good about that, at $3.44. You can see now it's only at $2.03, meaning on the max chart, it's down 41%. It's got 1 billion tokens in the max supply, 111.1 million in circulating supply, with a market cap of $225.4 million. Ethereum contract, oh, they have a bunch of contracts. Base, Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, Optimism, Polygon, and Arbitrum. All different contracts that they have, so they're extremely interoperable. That is definitely what you want to see from a project calling itself Layer 1. Build anything omni-chain. So Layer 0 is a technology that enables applications to move data across blockchains, uniquely supporting censorship-resistant message and permissionless development through immutable smart contracts. What does the term immutable mean? Does anybody know? That's one that you see a lot. So that's everything we just said. We don't need to say that again. I was about to start reading all the same things. On these websites, a lot of times they will regurgitate information over and over. Layer 0 connects blockchains. Yes, we know that. Source chain. Another thing about a lot of these websites is why do they make the font gray and then use a black background? Makes it so difficult to read, and then they make it super tiny. Just a bit of my pet peeve. We go to a lot of different websites on this underground crypto deep search research, deep dive research, and so start picking up some pet peeves with it. Supporting an omni-chain ecosystem. So they have DeFi, they have infrastructure, they have NFT, they have gaming. By the way, I think every Friday is going to be GameFi, right? We're going to look at different games. We're going to play some different games. It's Friday. A lot of times, people are ready to go have fun on the weekend, engagements down. And so we're going to have fun too, but we're still going to be deep diving in research. We're just going to be focused on gaming. Just like Mondays is Mystery Project Monday, where I get to put together a little bit more of a show that I want to do that doesn't have a very specific category, but more things I want to talk about. So will I put the definition? Will I explain the definition of immutable? Sorry, I'm trying to say like 5 different things at one time in my head, right? So immutable basically means it can't be muted. It can't be canceled. It can't be erased. Just like an NFT is a non-fungible token, where fungible means replicatable, like it's a one of one, or there's as many as they meant to make, right? There's no accidentally making more. And that is with, like, for an NFT, immutable is very much not to be erased or deleted or duplicated, if that makes sense. And we'll pull it up in ChatGPT real quick. Maybe they can give a better, I hate to leave somebody not fully understanding. See if they give us a different, I just typed in immutable. Sure, it knew what I wanted. That's the beauty of ChatGPT. I don't really want to know how it works. I just want the definition, right? So in blockchain, immutable means unchangeable. Okay, so unchangeable probably would have been more simple. Once data, like a transaction, smart contract, or record is written on the blockchain, it cannot be altered, deleted, or reversed. So I probably didn't explain it the best, but at least it wasn't wrong publicly in front of everybody, right? And Lindsay says she got it. Perfect. I'm glad you get it. So one thing that I want to do is not talk about the project that I meant to talk about yesterday. Maybe it was meant to be, because now people are here from the Crypto Lifer live stream, and so they'll get to see it too. So XRP Turbo. Now, I am not saying to run out and buy this coin. I did buy $200 worth of this coin. It's up a little bit, not a ton of it, but it's got some things that I like. Okay, so first of all, it's under a $2 million market cap. Now, is that a good thing? Well, if you're trying to be early on something, it is definitely a good thing. Does it mean that it'll ever get a bunch of traction? Maybe, maybe not. This is high risk, in my opinion. I do like, again, we talk about a lot of tokens that have have billions or even trillions or hundreds of trillions of coins. Max supply here is only 100 million. Now, why does that matter? Well, the price per unit, per one coin of anything, is the market cap divided by, well, it's the max supply divided by the market cap, right? So if you take 100 million tokens and divide that by 1.9 million, all the extra numbers, of course, included, it is going to give you the actual price of one unit, which here is 0.019. Let's see what Lindsay had to say. So unchangeable, not deleted, canceled, altered, duplicate. Okay, yep, you got it. You definitely got it. So my point here is, although a lot of times the amount of tokens doesn't matter a ton, here when we're talking about a very small amount of max supply, circulating supply, they are the same, which is great. It means it is fully vested or fully out into circulation. And this number, so let me slow down. The price per unit can go up much faster because it's not being divided by as many numbers, where if the circulating supply or the max supply was 1 billion tokens, now you would be dividing, a $2 million market cap into billions of tokens. Now, if the price went up, the percentage that it would go up would be the same, but the amount of money it would be would be, on paper per unit would be different. I hope that made sense and didn't actually make you more confused. But that's not what we're here for. What we're really here for is what this coin is, the categories and the narratives. Why do I like this token? And let's look at its max chart. So April, looks like 7th, 2025 is how long this thing has been around. So to me, having such a small market cap and being associated with XRP and being so new, I think is a good thing, because this hasn't got a lot of exposure yet. And here at Underground Crypto, one of the main reasons why I named this channel Underground Crypto is because we were looking for underground tokens, meaning ones that we were getting to early, before everybody else, that didn't have a lot of exposure. That is really the main focus of this channel initially. It's kind of morphed into more deep dive and research, but we still hold that ideal. So it hasn't been out very long. Really trying to build a use case and make you guys understand why I like this coin. So turbocharging the XRP ecosystem with AI. So right there, this is actually on, well, you will come to know later on, it's on the XRP-L ledger. What is the XRP-L ledger? Well, that is the blockchain of XRP. How many people hold XRP and have never interacted with the actual blockchain that is XRP? So the XRP ecosystem with AI. So now all of a sudden we have AI narrative in it. Now, one thing that somebody might say is this is a small project. It just came out. It's got $2 million in its market cap. How do we know it has any real AI? And down here, they even say real world assets and a launch pad and AI agents. So AI agents and a real world asset launch pad. So we have AI agents, and real world assets. And they say they're decentralized. So we have the decentralized narrative, of course, because we're on the XRP-L ledger. So it's XRP native token that is AI agents and real world asset launchpad and AI. So it has all the narratives, but you might be saying, how do we know that they do any of those things? We don't. And the beauty of a lot of the things in crypto is people run on narratives and they buy on narratives, and it's speculation. It almost doesn't matter right this moment if they actually are capable of doing what they say. Long term, way down the road, it would matter. But if you get in and people eat up these narratives, because again, we're speculating to make a profit, or at least I am. You guys do what you want with your money. But when you're speculating to make a profit, later down the road, it would matter a lot if they're actually able to deliver anything, because if they get exposed as a scam or somebody who is not actually doing what they say, everybody will probably dump the token. But if I get in at a $2 million market cap and this thing runs on some buzz as altcoin season kicks off, I think timing is important here as well. If I can 10, 15, 20x or more my money, I'm going to sell and walk away, and everybody else can figure out if XRP Turbo is really AI or AI agent. And that's just kind of the game in the nutshell. Is it pretty? Maybe not, but that is investing on small coins in a nutshell. Don't get married to the bag. I hope that made sense to everybody. And I'm not shilling this token, and I'm not affiliated with this token. Yes, I bought some, but that is not why I'm sharing it with you. All the things that I just talked about are why I am talking about it, or why I bought some. All right, so where should we go now? I felt bad yesterday that I didn't talk about that. Let's go back to LayerZeros and see what other LayerZero projects we have. I see there's some people in here. Like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification. I always forget to say that, so I'm glad I'm remembering for once. So we have Constellation or DAG. Now, I'm pretty sure that there's a couple projects called DAG. There's DAG, there's Block DAG, and there's even a couple other that have DAG in the ticker. Not really sure which one I hold over on Uphold, but I'm pretty sure this is the one. So this is obviously a LayerZero. It's on the base blockchain, which I was really, quite happy to find out that it was a base blockchain project, right? $81.4 million in its market cap, so it's not super huge. And it has a circulating supply of 2.8 billion tokens out of 3.5 billion tokens. And in the max chart is June 19th, 2018. This thing has been around for a while. And back at June 18th, 2018, it was at 2 cents, right? And then it had this big run up to, and one thing that CoinGecko is terrible about is trying to get that perfect like little peak. Right here it says 37 cents, but it went a little higher, probably like somewhere between 45 and 50 cents that it went to. They could make that much easier, but if you the only thing you can do is drop down to the year chart, and then that big spike is gone. Anyways, let's go to their website. Okay, America's trusted blockchain, Constellation Digital Evidence. So the token is called DAG, but what does DAG mean? Anybody know? If your data is important, then it should be on chain. I wish I had a giveaway ready, right? Can anybody tell me what DAG is before we get down and explain it in the actual website? But I don't have a giveaway ready, so if you can do it, you get bragging rights. That's about it. All right, they are hitting me with some ads. A growing ecosystem. So digital evidence, Door Traffic Miner, Stargazer Wallet, and Federal Solutions. So digital evidence says securely and immutably, we just went over that word, store digital evidence such as emerging vehicle sensor data or fast and efficient evidentiary reporting. Fun. Federal Solutions, approved and validated by the Department of Defense. Constellation is applying its blockchain protocol HGTP for military digital infrastructure. Okay. I did not know that about this coin. That is really interesting and something you might want to stick in the back of your mind. If they're getting money from the Department of Defense to build or do anything, that means money's going to flow. Now, will that money go into the actual market cap of the project? I have no idea because I don't know how their project is set up. But if it was going to run into their market cap, they could have money running into this project in the foreseeable future and for some time, because when you want to know if a project is going to increase in value, you need money in its market cap, and you need to have some idea or thought of where is that money going to come from. Well, with something like Department of Defense contracts and stuff, I could see where the money comes from. So then we have this Door Traffic Miner and Door DOR, collect foot traffic data and earn crypto rewards with Door Traffic Miner, a thermal sensing battery operated people counting device that you can place in any doorway anywhere. That is weird. I hope anybody else is catching this. I've seen a couple people hopped off. It is getting late. This is really interesting about DAG. Wow, really good information. Yeah, this is testimony to why I do this, because this has caught my eye. The funny thing is, I'm pretty sure I already own some of this. I just got to double check that it is the same thing. But because there's Block DAG, which has been out for I don't know how long, but I saw it trending the other day. Anyways, they're not the same project. So this is really interesting. I don't know what the point of having a Door Traffic Miner would be, where they would give you, does it have facial recognition? Is this somehow tied into the Department of Defense? Very strange. Stargazer Wallet. Buy, bridge, swap, or hold tokens with our multi-chain Stargazer wallet. Thousands of cryptocurrencies that are supported across several networks. One thing I'm going to do is I am going to deep dive this a little bit more, and the information that I come up with is going to go in the Discord. That's why we have the Discord. So I'll probably start its own little channel for it to make it easy to find really quickly later on. But yeah, for everybody who came today, I'm gonna do a little more research, and I'm gonna put that in the Discord probably over the next couple of days. Probably won't all be there tonight, and we'll see if we can validate some things like Department of Defense contracts. Are they just saying that, or is that real? So on ramp with C14 using Apple Pay. Lindsay says very interesting about DAG. Holy crap! Yeah, this is very interesting. So download our multi-chain Stargazer wallet that offers native support to Constellation networks. You will be able to buy Metagraph tokens, Metagraph tokens. So let's break that down a little bit. You have meta, very much like metadata, and graph, which would be to like graph that metadata. So these are tokens associated with Metagraph. I'm assuming that's what they're saying, and it's not just a token called Metagraph. DAG and manages all your assets in a non-custodial and secure way. It does feel like every project has their own wallet, and it seems like it's a little easier to hold a wallet, like for say MetaMask, where you can put a lot of different things and change the chain in it and stuff, but every place technically has their own wallet. I don't really feel comfortable personally, this is just my personal opinion, downloading every wallet for every coin that I hold. I don't know. That doesn't seem like the way to go. Seems like the way to lose something or get locked out of something. But they do have their wallet. So go from layer 0 to 60. That's funny. 0 to 60. They made a good joke. Constellation is a decentralized network that enables anyone to build the future of Web3 with fast and feeless transactions, secure, infinitely scalable, and cross-chain interoperable, engineered for developers, designed for the universe. So all the things that you would kind of want them to say, right? They said it for you. We're all satisfied. 20.1 million snapshots. I don't really even know what a snapshot is other than what they do before they do airdrops and stuff like that. Total supply of DAG, 3.7 billion. We went over that. Here's some good metrics to know. 46.8 thousand DAG wallet holders. Now, is that just how many people have downloaded the wallet, or how many people actually own DAG across multiple platforms? I don't know. So 207 validator nodes. This might even be one of those projects that having a validator node might be worth having. So introducing DTM Lite, install, mine, earn door. So this is where they were talking about this like door monitor where, I don't know, it counts the people that come through the door. I mean, it wouldn't be very useful in your house, right? Because how many people come through your house, this is strange. I really can't wait to look more into that. And what does one cost? Let's go to buy. What does it cost for one of these? $500. Yeah, I would really love to know how much I'm gonna. And there are many projects like Hive Mapper, and there's several other where they have physical things like this, and you see a price like $500, but then they really don't break down. Like, they should tell me directly how much money I get in the, or not money, because the price fluctuates, right? So I'll give them that, but they should be able to tell me how much token I get per 100 people that walk through a doorway or something. You know what I mean? All right, let's see if we can find out. I'm very interested in this, so I might be going a little long just on this one project, but let's see if they tell us why in the world they would want to give us money for counting people coming through a doorway. The Door Traffic Miner, or the DTM, is a battery-powered device designed to count people as they pass through any doorway. This compact in hardware, it doesn't sound like it's written right, can be placed in any doorway, providing a simple yet powerful solution for gathering foot traffic data. As you deploy the DTM, it collects valuable information that enables you to earn commissions. Okay, they're still not explaining why in the world they would want to do that. The DTM core is at the integration into Door's Metagraph, a network powered by Constellation's cutting-edge hypergraph transfer protocol, or the HGTP. This technology imbues the DMT with exceptional flexibility, allowing you to harness our hardware and collect meaningful data. The data gathered is valuable for analytics and monetizable through DOR tokens or USD. Our vision is to transform every user of the DTM into a datapreneur, like an entrepreneur, but a datapreneur. I don't think that's the best word. Empowering individuals to launch their own IoT analytic venture. We believe that with DTM, the complexities of data analytics should be accessible and profitable for everyone. I'm still so lost on what the value is here. It's like those strips they put over the road, and they tell you like when you drive over them, they're counting how much traffic is coming through. Well, that makes sense to me and why they would want to know that on a roadway, because they need to know how much traffic's coming through there and if they need to expand the road. Is 2 lanes enough? Do they need 6 lanes? That kind of data and information. Why in the world would these people care how much foot traffic I have coming through my storefront? I don't know. It's very interesting. And who are they selling that data to? Because you don't collect data for no reason. Most of the time you need somebody to sell it to. Also, it didn't tell us how much of the token that we earn from having one of those, which is usually the most important information that you would want to know if you were going to spend $500 on something like that. Thank you, Sourced and Sold. Lindsay says fire emojis. I appreciate that. I could go all night when it comes to these deep diving and research. If you're burning out, don't feel like I'm holding you up too much. Although I love the watch retention for sure. And I always say when I'm live, I have to hit the back button on CoinGecko like 13 times before it realizes we want to go back. All right, so I definitely want to go over this next project because it looked really interesting. It was one that was trending, and it says Narios. It's going to drive me nuts. I don't know how I'm supposed to say that, but it is a protocol. It's number 819 by market cap. I think that piece of information is always very important. And, of course, that is by market cap. And it's got $49.5 million in its market cap. Trying to hit the farthest back here. July 30th, 2025. We did say that earlier. It has an Ethereum and a Binance Smart Chain contract. And where's the website? So I believe we touched on this. Is this the one that said it was quantum resistant? Yes, it is the one that said it was quantum resistant. Okay. Maybe they'll tell us a little bit more about that. So decentralized post-quantum infrastructure. And I always kind of highlight in my own mind when I see new words. Like, remember when you're in school and they give you new words and you had to learn the definitions? There was going to be a test on it later. It's basically the same thing. When I'm coming across different websites and I see different words that I'm not used to seeing, like post-quantum. What does that mean? What does it mean to be post-quantum infrastructure? Does that mean before quantum is really everywhere and rolled out to the average person? I don't know. Trust and security for Web3 and Web2. Just trying to give you guys an idea of the way my mind works when I'm going over this stuff. Talk to Lucy. I think generally talking to Lucy is not a good thing, but it is their chat with Q-Day AI Survivor from 2056. Okay, we're getting real weird here. Getting out into the woo with some of this stuff. It says testnet, so it looks like maybe they're in their testnet and the full thing is not, really rolled out yet would be better. Incredible network growth, first in production, post-quantum blockchain. So post-quantum transactions, the Norris wallet, of course, every project has its own wallet, security node, and threats mitigated. Okay, so when it says threats mitigated, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they're probably doing something with security. Kind of like your, computer security would tell you how many threats have been mitigated, right? Decentralized post-quantum infrastructure for Web3 and Web2. Vitalik Buterin proposes a hard fork strategy for Ethereum to protect funds against quantum computer attacks. Source May 10th, 2024. I have no idea why that is necessarily relevant. Maybe it's what gave them the idea for this project. One thing to talk about is for a long time they said the only thing that Bitcoin has to worry about as far as vulnerabilities is quantum computing. And for a long time they said, but nobody really needs to worry about that because quantum computers run extremely hot. They can only be built with tons of money in places that are like super cold, like the Antarctic or the North Pole or something like that. And they said, don't worry about it. Well, seems like quantum computing has been evolving like all technology. And it seems like slowly but surely quantum computing is becoming more accessible to more people. Maybe not the everyday person, but maybe from, first world governments to second world governments. You know what I mean? Things like that. So we don't really know how much we should be worried about quantum computing, hacking, and stealing all the coins in an ecosystem. No idea if that's 10 years away, 15 years away. Are many of the big projects like Ethereum and stuff, are they working on that? Are they going to be completely blindsided by it? And also, what's to stop a big government from stealing all the Bitcoin? I have no idea, other than they'd probably make it useless. So Neris protocol secure Web3 without a hard fork. Okay, so that's why they were talking about it. They don't need to hard fork like Ethereum is saying they need to hard fork for quantum computer attacks. So quantum secure blockchain transactions, trust and security, and no single point of failure. If anybody is in here from Crypto Lifer's stream, go ahead and drop a comment if you haven't already, because I see there's a few people hanging out that haven't dropped anything in the comment. I love to meet anybody who comes to the stream. So quantum secure blockchain transaction, trust and security for Web3 infrastructure, and no single point of failure for Web3 infrastructure. So right away it says EVM compatible and easy to adopt, NIST approved, and PQC algorithm. Post-quantum ensures security for TXs. All kinds of things I'm not 100% sure what they're talking about. Operating at sub-zero layer. So we're back to our original, narrative here, which is LayerZero. Quantum security for Web3 stack, chain nodes, validators, DEX, and bridges. So what I like about this token already is that it's really talking about a narrative that you don't really hear that much about. How many projects off the top of your head can you think of are solely rolled out for security and blockchain? Wait, I really can't think of any. Yeah, Lindsay, I knew you were a fellow lifer. I actually had commented back to you on the stream this morning. And I'm on that stream every morning, so I will see everybody over there. Hopefully you guys will put a good word in to Sam for me. So let's see if we can go to their ecosystem. This is very interesting. And like I said, the reason why it catches my interest is because it's all about security and who are their competitors. Knowing your categories and your niches can be so important, because when we talk about security, who is their competitor? Well, they own, the whole quantum narrative for security. Now, it does say quantum resistant. Let's go ahead and hop into that, because I want to see who else is talking about being quantum resistant. And right here, quantum resistant ledger actually has a bigger market cap than they have, but just barely. Where they have 50 million and this quantum resistant ledger has 56. So I wrote down quantum resistant. I think that we'll probably do a whole show on that at some point. It'll probably be very techy. I'll probably scare everybody away, but that's okay. Thank you very much, Lindsay. I'm very glad that you're here. Just reading the comments, trying to keep up with them. At first, when I first started live streaming, I was terrible about keeping up with the comments. So let's go back. So now we know what this is. We know that this is security. Then we have a very interesting one, which is C8 NTIN. So like quantum, I don't know. Man, if I really have trouble saying most words, this one will really mess you up. It's a ticker CTM. That's an easier way to do it. Probably should have gone with that from the get-go. April 17th, 2025. This thing has not been around very long. It already has $25.6 million in its market cap, but that's not really that big, of course, but it's also not that small. I like to at least see a project get over the 15 to $20 million market cap, right? Because I feel like a lot of them, if they're going to rug, they rug around, the $8 to $12 million region is what I've noticed. A lot of times things get somewhere, and sometimes way before that. People make a project, it gets to $5 million and they just rug it because they've never had $5 million before, right? So Ethereum contract, Binance Smart Chain contract, Solana contract. We've been over enough coins now. Hopefully you're catching the flow of how we normally do this. We are going to go to their website. And it says continuum. Okay, that makes more sense. I don't know why they put an 8 in it. Also, I'm going to highlight this real quick. I notice a trend of people making the max supply, this 8.8 billion and whatnot. I don't know what the point of that is. $824.9 million tokens in circulation. So there is a huge disparity between the circulating supply and the max supply. In a new project, that's not unheard of, but that is a really big difference. Ultimate interoperability, multi-chain powered. It's what we would expect. It's a LayerZero. Generation is live, so it looks like maybe they launched something recently. Unique mechanism that features the first multi-chain treasury, ensuring continuous value generation through buybacks and a unique deflationary system. So deflationary is what we want to hear because that means price go up, generally speaking, that is. Protocol-owned multi-chain liquidity, constant monetization for referrals and validators, unique fee redistribution mechanism ensuring protocol incentives for builders, validators, and novel interaction staking mechanism, rewarding active participants, creating a sustainable ecosystem. And they have some people down here that they say they're trusted by. I don't recognize any of them. And let's launch the app because they have an app. Is this what did they call it? No, I don't want notifications from here. Generation is live. So does this have to do with whatever generation is? Is that the blockchain? Not sure. So this looks like some kind of swap. And after what we had just learned, is it an atomic swap or is this a bridge? I have no idea. So you pay ETH, you generate CTM. It's a very interesting way to put it. Most people would call it minting. They're going to call it generate. So that's what they meant by generate is live, I guess. Makes a little bit of sense. You go up here, you connect your wallet, and that seems to be the only thing that it does. So you can go here and you could buy. So it shows you that PancakeSwap, Radium, and Uniswap are all decentralized exchanges where you can buy it. Little side note, side salad here. When you are buying tokens, where do you tend to buy them? Centralized exchange like Coinbase, Mexi Global, Weeks, all kinds of different ones that a lot of people are familiar with? Or do you tend to buy them on PancakeSwap, Uniswap, Radium, Jupiter, Orca, all kinds of different decentralized exchanges? And have you ever used a decentralized exchange with a real, Web3 wallet giving you that real Web3 experience? I think it's a good point here in the stream to talk about how a lot of people buy these tokens as currency and stuff, and they don't even know that a whole Web3 world exists, where you don't have a login with a password anymore. You log into your wallet, and then you can go to all these different websites. They instantly connect. They instantly know who you are. They, you have all your money in it if you need to interact with them. If they have anything going on, like they need you to sign a little bit of something, so you're basically approving the interactions across the wallet to interact with the platform. It is a really interesting and unique experience. Lindsay says, Coinbase, but I want to pan out. I do not have some bunk coin on Uniswap. I do have some bunk coin on Uniswap. Okay. Not familiar with bunk coin, although that sounds very familiar. But yeah, so if you went through that, you probably know how outrageous the fees are on Ethereum. Now, that's where the whole Web3 IQ, crypto IQ comes into play because, and I don't know if you did or didn't, but you probably could have bought it on like Polygon or something like that and paid much, much less money for the transaction. Now, I haven't used Uniswap in a long time, so I don't know if that's maybe automatically integrated into it. It would make a lot of sense if it was automatically integrated into it, but that doesn't mean that they did it, because the fees are Ethereum's biggest crutch, right? They're its biggest holdup. Let me get rid of some of these different tabs. Maybe it'll keep the stream from lagging. So what else do we have here? And this happens a lot of time. We've been going for a while. I came on at 8:15. It's about to be 10:15. And we've only made it through so many projects. You can see deep diving and researching takes time. That's why we're here Monday through Friday. For anybody who didn't know, came over from the other stream, Crypto Lifer stream, Monday through Friday, It was 8:30 for forever. I'm going to start doing 8 o'clock instead. I did 8:15. Tomorrow I'll do 8 o'clock just to kind of merge people into it. But I'm definitely going to move it up to 8 o'clock. And we're probably going to run as long as we have attention, right? So Coinbase is really where I have everything. Yeah, a lot of people do. Lindsay, do you have cold storage? Do you know what cold storage is? Like a ledger, a treasure? I'm sure you've heard of it, but do you understand how it works? And if I don't know how much money, you might say I have everything on Coinbase, and I don't mean to insult you in any way, shape, or form, but maybe that's only a couple of $1,000s for you, and it's no big deal. I would say maybe not a real big risk. But if we're talking, any amount of money that is significant to you, you might want to think about having some kind of cold storage or something, because things happen, and sometimes they happen to Coinbase. So Lindsay says it is better to light one candle than to cure the darkness. Motto of the Christopher Society. I don't know what Christopher Society is, but that's an interesting quote. So she said, no, sad, I need to know. To me, a lot. 6 figures. Okay, well, I would think about protecting that. Now, the only reason why I hesitate to say that is because I would hate for anything to go wrong while you were trying to do that. Just so you know, anytime you do anything in crypto, and this is not advice, but my personal opinion, small transaction, make sure it works. Make sure you have the right contract address. Like if you were sending money anywhere, this applies. But also if you were getting a cold storage wallet and you had a bunch of money on Coinbase, you were going to send it to a cold storage wallet. You don't necessarily want to send all the money on the first transaction and then find out you had the wrong contract address and your money's gone. Every chain's a little bit different when it comes to recovery, but most of the time, the rule you want to go by is there is no recovery. If you mess it up, you mess it up. And that is why a lot of people do stay in centralized exchanges. And most of the time, that's great. I'm not 100% sure if this is correct, but I know that when you use Coinbase, if you're in their paid program, which I think is like $15 a month, or I think they raised it to $30 a month, then you're insured up to $100,000 if it gets hacked, or I think if any of the vulnerabilities are on them, they're responsible. I think they'll replace you up to $100,000. They might have increased it more than that. They really should increase it more than that because they have plenty of money, and if it was their fault, it's their fault. But some people might want to stay over there. Things like FTX crash, right, is what then kind of flips the coin to the other side of the narrative, which is if Coinbase goes insolvent, doesn't usually happen in bull markets. It's more of a bear market thing. But if you leave money over there and they go insolvent, not your keys, not your crypto. If you've ever heard that, it's very true. You don't have the keys to the money. You're not the sole person who has access. And if it disappears, who knows if they'll make it right. Coinbase One, yes, exactly. Coinbase One is worth paying for, of course, because you get a lot lower fees on everything that you buy. And if you spend even, $50 to $100 a month buying crypto, Coinbase One is worth having, in my opinion. But definitely the security to know that they will back up the money. But I'm pretty sure it has to be if the vulnerability or the reason why you lost your money is their fault. Now, if it's your fault, they might not want to give you your money. I don't know about that at all. As much as I would love to just keep going over all of these projects, it is getting late. I am going to go ahead and hop off. I really enjoyed all the conversation. Lindsay, especially, you were very active in the chat. Big shout out to all of my lifers here who came over. You guys are the best. I hope to see you in the Discord. I'm going to do a little bit more research on that token, which is, was it Constellation? No, what was the token? This happens to me all the time. Pretty sure it was Constellation, right? The one that had the door counter and all that fun stuff. Yes, it was. Okay. And I'll be putting that in the Discord over the next couple of days. If for some reason you don't see that information over there, definitely remind me. I'll check into that. Thank you for the heads up. Absolutely. And if you could put a good word in the morning live stream, I'll be over there. I'll see everybody in the morning, and we'll see what we're going to go over tomorrow. I think all-time highs would be a really fun category to go over. If anybody has any ideas for a narrative or category, for example, an ecosystem of a certain big layer 1, feel free to shout those out in the Discord, because I always need more narratives to go over on the stream. Yeah, you're definitely welcome, Lindsay. All right, guys, have a great night. I'm going to hop out. We ran a little longer than normal, but I don't mind doing it at all. You guys have a great night. I really need something cool and catchy to say on my way out the door, ending the live stream, not the live stream. Stay underground and stay crypto. Raise that crypto IQ. Have a great night, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. New York time.